and welcome to a new episode of Ringside Wayback. I am Jose Taboada. You can follow me on social media at Taboada93 alongside the legendary John Dawson, who you can find at John Dawson Music. And today, folks, it is episode 7, originally aired on June 12th, 2021, titled Take a Look at Me Now. I will say that I was thinking about the song a lot. That there's a song called Take a Look at Me Now, I believe. We can't sing it for copyright purposes here on YouTube. But for the episode name.
No, I think the song is actually called Against All Odds.
Really?
Yeah.
I am not going to question the music expert there. I'm not going to touch that subject.
From the movie Against All Odds.
Because
isn't that what this pay-per-view's called? And that's what we're talking about?
It is, actually. Oh, wow. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you got me there. The Ring
Yeah.
Crew reviews Impact Wrestling's Against All Odds, tease up NXT TakeOver in your house, and chatting about Bret Hart and a variety of topics in the All You Can Heat segment. Now, when we closed off episode 6 this past Thursday, we laughed our heads off with that name, All You Can Heat, due to its creativity in a segment name, which and again, if you saw us laugh at the end of episode 6 of Wayback, you'll realize that it hasn't happened since. I don't think.
I don't think so.
Or we probably forgot about along the way, but because I don't remember hearing that. So we're gonna see what all you can heat is about. Of course, all episodes are available on wherever you get your podcasts. So if you do want to not listen to our commentary when we pause along the way, you can go over to Spotify, iHeartRadio. Again, all your favorite podcatchers, it is available there. So let's bring up the Spotify. I'm going to be snacking as we watch this. I have some chicken tenders here that I just like because chicken tenders are fun. All right,
just mute your mic and you're fine.
Of course I will. All right, let's let the party begin. Away we go with episode 7.
The views expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Sauga 960 AM or its management.
It's Sunday night, and you know what that means. Ringside Heat is on the air with a special Sunday episode on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is...
Did you hear that? Sunday. Is this it? Is this our transition?
Is this where we switched?
Sunday?
It said special Sunday. No, I think we might have been preempted for something.
Maybe.
I think it was something like that.
I don't know, but it's our first Sunday
episode. Because he said special
episode.
Sunday episode. It wasn't. I think that we actually make a point of the new time slot announcement.
I was gonna, I feel bad for pausing. Yeah, no, that sounds right. I feel like we would get excited about a new time switch, in Sauga 960. Okay, carry on.
Lex Tan, and I'm your host for this show on a busy weekend in the sport of kings and queens. Tonight, the Ring Crew takes over as we review last night's Impact Wrestling Against All Odds pay-per-view. We'll tee up tonight's NXT TakeOver in your house and talk about so much more. Sit back and relax here on Sauga 960 AM for a great hour of wrestling talk on the radio when Ringside Heat returns in just a few minutes.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on sauga960am.ca.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. I'm your host, Lex Tan. If you want to give your thoughts on tonight's show, you can do so anytime on our social media accounts at Ringside_Heat. And you can get in touch with me at Lex Tan Media and drop us a message on Facebook.com/Ringside Heat. A few days ago, Machine Gun Carl Anderson created a post on his social media criticizing the talent that was recently released by WWE and the way and speed the newly future endeavored expressed their gratitude to WWE. And maybe the word triggered is not enough to describe how I felt when he gave those comments. So let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Roman Reigns said something last fall comparing the quality of the productions of SmackDown and Raw. He compared Raw to a cheeseburger and SmackDown to a filet mignon. And there's a certain portion of a fan base that can be referred to as, quote, fast food fans who are impatient and are angry about not getting everything they want right this instant. I think this can connect with what Carl Anderson said just a few days ago, calling for an end to thank you tweets to the WWE 24 hours after they've been given their walking papers. Anderson would go on to suggest that those on their way out tell the company to bleep off, calling the thank you tweets bull turds, and to put together a plan of attack before thanking all of those Matitude followers who fired you. By the way, he didn't say Matitude followers. Let's contrast this with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's a very rare case where one guy can transcend an entire industry or a big name brand. But even he, for all of his success outside of wrestling and some difficulties with the use of the Rock name outside of WWE, DJ has given back to the industry and has come back over the years, acknowledging and proudly telling the world how the time he had with wrestling and entertaining us, the fans, has been a most special time of his life. But let's be honest here, WWE and the product that Vince McMahon Jr. created may have been started by his grandfather generations ago, but the product, despite its problems, is as big as it is today, and the greater North American wrestling market exists in its current form both because and in spite of Vince McMahon. I'm calling a spade a spade. It is the definitive major league in pro wrestling. WWE is the filet mignon. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't any quality in other promotions out there, because there is a lot to like with the greater pro wrestling landscape today. But I'm also not saying that WWE's hands are clean either. For somebody like CM Punk to be critical of how his health was handled, how he received his termination papers on his wedding day, or for Mickie James to have been mistreated during her time in the company and on her way out, it's very much fair for those who were spurned to speak out in order to create awareness and something better for the future. Those are times to criticize WWE and criticize the people and the way things have been mismanaged. Carl Anderson, however, sounded like an ingrate reeking of entitlement and putting himself over a business that afforded him the luxury of doing something he loves for very good money and putting food in his mouth and on the table for his, and I quote him directly, hot Asian wife and their 4 sons. I understand that Carl has his own anger about his release, and sure, maybe he signed with Impact 15 minutes after he was released and got more money out of it, so it did work out for him, and I want to be the first to say that I respect that. Nobody wants to get fired from any job, but especially in wrestling, like broadcasting, media, and entertainment, don't burn your bridges. Based on what he said, unless Carl does reach out and bury the hatchet like Brett did with Vince 16 years ago, he's not going to like the treatment that might be coming to him if Anthem Entertainment tells them to cut the roster and he gets affected. Other major promotions are going to be wary of his words, and since social media is forever, this could, pardon the pun, impact the rest of his career going forward. And for fans of the Bullet Club, I'm sorry if I offend you by saying this. The Bullet Club and its members are not bigger than WWE. That's not being a mark for Vince's product. That's referencing reality. And the guy whose brand is actually bigger than WWE, for whom it actually does matter what his name is, he always finds a way to humble himself and to know and understand that WWE is one of the reasons why he's been walking tall since he retired from full-time in-ring performances. Metaphorically speaking, the Carl Anderson tweet might be the difference maker, which could see him eating cheeseburgers, no matter how good quality they are, versus feasting on the filet mignon.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
When we come back, the entire ring crew is in for the rest of the hour, and we'll have an all-you-can-heat fest when we return to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember that Carl Anderson stuff.
I do too, and I feel like when the ring crew comes on, if I am in this episode, I would have ranted too, because it's true. I mean, I've seen it all the time in broadcasting, right? Don't burn those bridges. It's true. It'll always apply in the world of media and the world of broadcasting. You see, like it's tough to even like be critical of something, of a team or whatever, because because if you want to go look for those jobs, social media is going to be there. So
Yeah.
I will say though, the one thing I've noticed about Lex is that, and again, this is where the passion for wrestling comes in. If there's something that looks like it disrespects the business, or maybe even just specifically WWE, I don't know, he'll go off. And we saw it a couple of weeks ago with Tony Khan. And this feels like this reminded me of the recent Tony Khan rant about the NFL Network comments, because again, it's Carl Anderson just going off, sounding ungrateful, and trying to, I guess, quote unquote, put himself over. So I love that about Lex, that he's passionate about this business, that he knows where respect is and when respect is due.
Lack of respect for the business is a big trigger for Lex. Yeah.
It's huge.
That was at the heart, I think, of the Tony Khan rant too. That this was an unnecessary. Yeah, it just makes the whole business look bad. Anyway,
Oh, of course.
The even though I don't know, are we in that business? We're not. He might be. I don't think I am.
Us in particular?
Yeah, I'm not in that business.
I don't know, compared to, I mean, if you compare ourselves to Lex, I mean, Lex is commentating indie shows here around the GTA. He's done some in Oshawa, in Newmarket, in Aurora. So
I've done a couple with him. I just haven't gone in a while.
right, and I would say that Lex is, yeah, kind of in the business. I think he would say he's in the business. I feel like if we say, "Do you think so?" he would kind of maybe get mad at us. But I think he is. So I see the point. I see the point that he tries to come across. So passionate rant, very, very passionate rant. Big fan.
Yeah. No, that was good. You're right. I mean, you just got to be careful with that stuff. And Carl Anderson, I think he wound up even coming back.
Of
right?
course, he's still
Like,
there.
So
He's still in WWE
he's
today.
still there. I mean, is he getting maybe as big a push as he
No, I don't. I
could?
feel like the comments are in the rearview mirror once he signed, because obviously, again, you kind of just get move on from it. But even so, like even
Those
before,
guys are tough though, man. They're thick-skinned. I don't know. I Triple H doesn't strike me. Vince might. I feel like he might have been a bit more, um, vindictive, or like this will come. He won't forget that. I think
Yep.
Triple H is just such a confident guy. He's like look at the way he handles AEW. He's like, whatever, dude. I'm just doing my thing.
Look how he handled Punk when he came
Yeah, look
back
how he
in
handled
Survivor
Punk,
Series,
like-
right? He's like, listen, if there's business there, if it works for both parties, we're gonna work with you. And so far it's been working phenomenally, right? But yeah,
I
easily.
think a lot about it. I have a couple of friends that remind me of how Triple H, the way he is, that there's this natural leadership quality. But I can't imagine. I think of it every time I see him. Like, this is a guy who, so I just started watching the Most Wanted Treasures on Triple H, and it just came out on this weekend.
Mhm.
And he carries himself. It's like, you've done it all. You've literally done it all in the business. And now you're running the biggest company in the business. This guy's got nothing to prove to nobody.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So I feel like, and the long way around here is that these guys coming back, he's like, it's all good, man. Like, he is just so far above that pettiness that I bet you it's not even an issue. Anyways,
definitely.
I feel like Vince would have made it more of an issue. Anyways,
Probably. All right. It's time for the All You Can Heat segment.
all you can eat.
I'm so
looking
excited.
forward
It's
to
probably nothing big, but just the name itself is just fantastic. Here we go.
hilarious.
Stream us live at sauga960am.ca.
And welcome back to Ringside here on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM. I'm your host, Lex Tan, and we've got the entire.
Really quickly, I feel like you got to teach me that one day, because it just sounds
B minor pentatonic. You got it.
What's that? I
Scale.
only know E, my E minor, D, G, and C.
Yeah, I'll teach you. No problem.
I am a guitarist. Carry on. Sorry.
Yes,
Side
you
note.
are.
Very side note.
Entire Brink crew here, taking you to the top of the hour at Coca-Cola X, Chico Nuguid. We've got at John Dawson Music, John Dawson, at MKD_CE04, Mark Farinas, at Risen72, Colin Dodge, and at Taboada 93 from Under the Middle Rope Podcast, Jose Taboada. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Feeling good.
I like the Sunday
Okay,
hit.
good.
This is interesting. A Sunday recording.
Easy like Sunday morning, baby.
Nice. And we have a new segment to debut here. It's called the All You Can Heat General Quickfire Topic segment. And the first segment here on the All You Can Heat is Renee Paquette's oral sessions with Tommy End. What did you guys think of that?
I liked it. I thought it was a great. I thought it was a great little session. Of course, I mean, I had plenty of time to hear it, waiting in a 6-hour line the day I heard it. I liked it, and I'm really happy to hear how humble Tommy End was. He yes, he understands. Obviously, the situation isn't pretty, and he acknowledged that, but he also appreciated his time there, and he appreciated the opportunity that he was given. So it kind of makes me mad when you see comments like Carl Anderson that came out earlier in the week saying how it's not right that people are expressive, especially if it's within 24 hours or something like that, or positive about the whole thing. He wants people to be angry. He wants people to let loose. And so my response to that is, have you ever considered professionalism? And it's just so infuriating to hear guys like Carl Anderson say yo, you need to go off, right? And yes, I know he specified 24 hours, but it looks like even after the fact, he just wants people to be mad. And so I was really happy to hear Tommy throughout this conversation with Renee that, again, he was positive. Yes, he knew that he specified what was promised and he didn't get, but at the end of the day, he's still humble. He's ready for his new beginnings. And you know what? If that's illegal, then sue him, which is ridiculous. So I'm very happy that Tommy has at least some peace for now.
All right, a couple of things. Number one, I remember the 6-hour lineup. I remember why.
What was it for?
It was the vaccination.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And again, we're not going to get into that because I know it's still controversial to this day. But yes, I elected.
We all did it.
That was my second, I believe. I believe it was my second. I can't remember. But anyways, Tommy End is Malachi Black. Is Alistair Black. That is his real name.
Yeah.
I was confused as to who the heck that is.
I couldn't remember who he was either.
Yes, it is Malachi Black. So that makes a lot of sense. That staying in line for 6 hours. That's definitely the right time to listen to a podcast. That's for sure. Just carry on if anybody wants any context.
And anytime
one thing as well.
Anytime anyone else is in a 6-hour line and they're looking for a podcast, Ringside.
Well, we have 135 episodes, folks. Actually, no. At the time of this by the time this releases, episode 136 will have come out. What's our topic about 136? I have no idea. This is filmed before that, but I'm sure it's great. Sure, it's a good topic. Sure, it's a fantastic topic. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just breaking the fourth wall here, my friends.
There you go.
There you go.
All about Tommy that I think that Carl Anderson may not be seeing clearly at this time is that this is also a really good strategy for him to keep good relations. Just like in the broadcasting industry, you want to keep good relations with the people who have employed you and the people who have put you on the air, because if something happens and you need help, they're going to be the ones to help you. And possibly in the future, Tommy might go back to WWE because he's got a good relationship with Vince. Now, for Carl Anderson, I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
Nor should he.
No, not at all. Because, I mean, even we saw the Bret Hart documentary this week, and Bret even reached out to Vince. Well, Vince, to Vince's credit, when Bret had his stroke, Vince did reach out. And then years later, Bret reached out and say, hey, Vince, let's bury the hatchet. And thus we had the reconciling between Vince, Bret, and even Shawn Michaels, which is beautiful to see. News Talk Sauga 960 here. We have Ringside Heat and the entire ring crew here. We're in their all-you-can heat sessions. Anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to Tommy End and the oral sessions with
I'm just pleasantly surprised at how much high road that Tommy End took. And just to echo what you said earlier, what's the saying? Like you should be good to the people on your way up the ladder because you might meet them on your way down. It just showed to me how much of a pro Tommy End is, and I don't think we've seen the last of the Alistair Black character.
Yeah, I'm with you on that there, Chico. I think he took the high road's perfect term for it, and he seems to be looking forward. I think it's great. I'm excited to see what happens because he just seems like the kind of guy you're going to root for because it seems to be just a quality of character there.
I got to agree with Johnny as well. Like he can make things work. When he debuted back in NXT, I mean, he started with Velveteen Dream. He got that to work, like as well as Andrade. And then when he got up to the Monday Night Raw, and then eventually SmackDown, like he made things work and like they were open to his ideas. But I'm actually very excited to see what he's got in store. I'm really happy for Tommy or Alistair.
Fans are clamoring for him to get to New Japan. Actually, from what I heard, they're
NJPW, eh?
For him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would follow him to see him there. I mean, I was a fan with all the NXT work. The call up, I thought it was, as far as call ups goes to the main roster, he had a pretty decent start. And I was really excited for the new character that we're not ever going to see. But the interview made me more of a fan of the person as well. So I'm definitely going to follow him and look out for where he ends up landing.
Again, professionalism will get people far. Professionalism, respect, and he's shown all of it.
Yeah.
And that just goes a long way. And I'm happy that Tommy's taking that route because it looks good, not only on yourself, but on those around you.
And he should have really got that big push when he got to the main roster. I mean, like I would have loved to see him face guys like probably Edge, Roman, Brock. If you had to make matches for him like that, it would work.
Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 960. And speaking of the main roster,
I want to say this, and I know I'm encountering Mark a lot in recent episodes, but I was never a fan of the fact that every NXT call-up deserves a major push because there's no room. Unfortunately, you can't push everybody to the moon, give them the world championships, or like everybody should be automatically slotted into that slot because they're from NXT.
Yeah, it's like every rookie becomes an MVP. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. It's like
it's false equivalency.
Like I don't know why. Like, I mean, of course, push could be subject to interpretation. Push could mean a mid-card title push or a tag title push, right? Which I think for a lot of NXT talent, that's the route you should go. I don't know why a lot of fans instantly say, well, no, it should be a mega push. It's not even guys that have been on the main roster for a while get mega pushes.
And you're setting the NXT call up for failure there too, because they need time to adapt. Because Full Sail is a performance center. Well, yeah, it's Full Sail they do the shows at, right?
I still do, I believe, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever. That stage is just much smaller. The expectations are much smaller.
Yeah.
It's a training ground. It's a developmental. But to go from there
you can't
to the main show, you need a second.
You can't measure like about 300 people compared to 67,000.
No,
you can't.
Yeah,
you can't. So like,
I don't know where that idea started. Why did that? I don't understand how that.
To be fair, though, I mean, and that was the beauty. And again,
it's not just Mark. Like that's
it's not. That's what I'm saying. And so that's why I don't mean to pin it on Mark, but I mean, it shows the work of Triple H and what he did and why fans wanted him already in Vince's spot by that point, right? It took, of course, an extra couple of years, but Triple H was just did so well, and these characters were so convincing to be world champions. I mean,
maybe that's what it was. There was a desire to see the work in NXT. It feels like, because I remember that, because I was a big fan of that black and gold brand era. Huge. That was just a couple years ahead of this.
Yeah.
Right, like the 17, 18 NXT classes were
16, even maybe.
All the ones where. Yeah, that was Samoa, Shinsuke, Bobby Roode,
it's
loaded.
It's a
DIY, just a loaded roster. And it was so exciting. I wanted to see. I was like, man, just take this and transplant it to the main show, and you're good. I'm in. Like I remember wanting Johnny Gargano to get up there really quick too, and. So it must have just been the excitement over what was happening, and he was doing such a good job, and it was so flat on the main roster. That's like here's the people who can save it.
Depends on the person as well, because again, there are superstars that deserve that mega push. Shinsuke got the mega push at the Royal Rumble, and when everybody thought he was going to be champion at WrestleMania 34, AJ retains, right? Samoa Joe, another strong, dominant example of a guy that is just excelled everywhere he went. And then in that case, those pushes weren't really there, right? But then you look at the other crop of talent, Bobby Roode, who I thought maybe a mid card run should be fine because again, you need to see this excellent NXT champion, but we need to see the translation. It's just I understand that all these pushes are huge and they're such great stars, but like you said, it's a different ball field. You also got to look at what the current like playing field is for title scenarios or storylines. It's tough. You can't just throw somebody in there for the sake of throwing somebody in there either.
No,
It
it's
has
not.
to make sense. Yeah, like I said, there are cases where something should have been done and it hasn't. But for the most part, look at the playing field. It's broad. But anyways, I do want to keep going. But
Yep.
there's
It's an
just
interesting point. I
factors.
never really thought of it. I'm like, yeah, that is that's a
Yeah,
big conversation.
for sure.
Thing I think we need to rant about a little bit here is Lily, Shayna, and Alexa from Monday Night Raw. And I know this kind of fell a little bit flat with myself and with you guys as we had a conversation earlier on during the week. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts about this particular segment.
What could you possibly say about this? Because it was just so bad. I don't even know. It was the worst way to end a Raw, in my opinion. And Shayna's scream, God love her, it didn't send chills up my spine. It fell completely flat. There was that tweet that somebody put out about watching Bret Hart's student film in his documentary and watching Vince McMahon's student horror film on Raw. And I thought that was great. I think it was Paul. I can't remember who it was actually, but I should look that up. But it was perfect. Like there it is. It was just it really wow. That's
those wrestling buddies back then. I'm just asking a question. Is Lily a wrestling buddy?
She will be now.
I mean, it comes to a point where, like, okay, I think you know what, this character and this
Move over,
storyline
Mr.
now.
Sacco. Here comes Lily.
Oh my lord, Mr. Sacco over Lily all day long.
Colin insulted Mr. Sacco. On behalf of the Ringside crew, I would like to apologize to Mr. Sacco, and I hope you get more of your due.
Have a nice day. I don't think this is working at all. You got the Alexa Bliss character. I know you got that after what happened at WrestleMania, and now you got this coming along with Shayna. I mean, I thought this wasn't going to go anywhere, man. Now, like, I agree with John. It's just not working out for me.
See, even if this does work out, which again, I don't have any hope for either, like the rest of you fine gentlemen are saying, even if it does work out, why is Shayna in the spot? Just why? I mean, right now, and like it's been such a common theme in the last year, maybe 2 years, that we're getting the same repetitive women involved in the storylines, in the championship picture. Of course, I'm talking about your Charlottes, your Sashas, your Baileys, which, for the most part is fine. I mean, again, I know everybody has their opinion about Charlotte, but I mean, right now, I'm just so like disconnected and so uninterested in the Raw Women's Championship picture. It'd be nice if Shayna was put back in, because I was tired of her with the tag team picture in the first place. So now that we have this going on, I'm like, can we just put her back in that championship role, in that championship picture? Because again, that's just what I would like to see. And even like her moment with, I felt like everything just started to go south since her WrestleMania 36 shocking loss to Becky, which obviously she ended up retaining. Of course, which makes you wish that Shayna won that night. But this is where we are now, and it's just very, very frustrating to see.
Ringside Heat, New Stock Sauga 960 AM. This is Lex Tan. This is the Ring Crew on Ringside Heat. And I'd like to talk about one more topic here on All You Can Heat, and it is family. And we saw two different shades of family in documentaries this week, as well as something that happened. Leo Rush retired, and he chose his family first as part of one of his reasons for stepping away from the business. And also the Dark Side of the Ring documentary about the Dynamite Kid.
It's funny that Leo Rush's moniker while he was with WWE was the Man of the Hour, because it feels like his career lasted only about an hour. So I wish him the best, though, because retiring at such a perceptibly young age, it's bittersweet, right? I mean, like, I think he's got talent. He's talented on the mic. He's got some moves. I think he had potential, but also if he's too banged up and he wants to save a good chunk of himself for family life, I'm all for that too.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with Chico there. He signed a contract with NJPW, which is like, okay, I thought that was fine. I thought he was gonna build his career over there, but then all of a sudden I heard about that tweet. I'm like, okay, maybe there was another reason why besides injury. Good for him. I'm actually happy for him. But if he wants to make a comeback, then we'll be up for that as well. But I got no words to say about Leo. But okay, good luck, man.
Yeah, to me, there is nothing more important than family, but that's just me. That's just like a value that I just appreciated in my life. And to hear Leo Rush bring that up as a main focus after the injury, I think that's big, and that I just throw so much respect for that. Too many times have we heard in the world of wrestling behind the scenes of families being ruined because they would need to focus on wrestling, or because they're always on the road, or there's always something else going on behind the scenes. I mean, we saw the Bret Hart documentary from A&E, and they brought that up. Bret Hart in a divorce, in that situation, of course, Dark Side of the Ring with Dynamite Kid, his abuse, his immense obsession, or his immense like pride with wrestling, and how he just wanted to be remembered and appreciated. And I do think Leo Rush is doing the right thing, because I feel like this doesn't happen enough. I mean, maybe you can say more than it did in the last 30 years. That yes, you have your career. I know it's easy to get caught up because you want to provide, or you want to be there for family or for other things and whatnot. But just don't forget as well what you have around you, because it can easily be gone in a second.
I'd like to think that Leo is almost sort of barometric in anticipating what I hope is sort of a change in wrestling in general. I think looking at Dynamite Kid and that era of wrestling, it seemed like the life of a wrestler was much more diametrically opposed to any sort of, stability in a home life. But I wonder if the culture of wrestling is changing. It's not less busy, but is it less dark? I'd like to think that this generation of wrestlers, they seem to be more aware of fitness and wellness and their own. You got more gamers than you got guys who are doing
Working
some
out.
of the stuff they used to do. They're working out, they're playing video games. I wonder if there is just sort of a systemic shift happening in just the culture of wrestling. I hope there is.
I'm gonna back you up, and I think so, John, because and I think this is where technology has benefited in terms of like medical stuff with the world of wrestling, because they understand we have so much access to resources on how crucial, let's say, CTEs are, or broken bones and whatnot. And you can really get into it, and then the recovery rate for anything, or just like the well-being of an athlete, and the process to stay active, to stay in shape is incredible. I think people are taking care more of their bodies now than they have in the 90s and in the 80s. And obviously you remember the steroid trial of 92 and whatnot. And not to say that people may not be doing it, I hope not. But I think people are more aware and respectful of it, especially after what happened in 2007 with the Benoit tragedies, that they kind of see, okay, we see how bad this can get. We don't want it to get there.
I also think that, as John was saying, the culture of wrestling is starting to change. And we saw that with The Undertaker being the last of the old school kind of method acting, got to be in character. I think it's a better thing that they've let go a lot more of that particular aspect of being a professional wrestler. And we're seeing a lot more healthiness mentally with the current talent and the current generation that's out there right now. But we're going to take a break at this time, and we're going to be talking about the Bret Hart A&E biography when we return. News Talk Sauga 960, Ringside Heat.
I think that has largely been the case.
Yeah, and it's funny that The Undertaker within the last year stated, I don't get why guys are playing more video games in the locker room. Back in my day, it was all about toughness and, couldn't get in everybody's way. And it's night and day with the locker rooms of then and now. I think.
He said something recently where he said it's really chilled out. It's like there's no. Yeah, that vibe is completely changed.
Almost as if he doesn't like the vibe though. Like
I'm sure he's uncomfortable with it. It's just it would definitely isn't Mark Calloway's locker room.
Exactly, and he kind of prefers that toughness, like everybody to themselves. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, and obviously we'll never know what kind of.
But I do think that there's something to this with the way Triple H seems to be running things, where because he himself knows maybe his own health scare, You know, I think that he himself I feel like he's got a different perspective. And I mean, look at Seth and Becky. You know, he puts families together.
Yeah.
Like they bring their kid is with them like at every show. You know, so when you're gonna have more of that, I'm sure, because you'd have Johnny and Candace bring in. I think Quinn is the
I
kid's name.
think so. Yeah.
Quill, sorry, Quill.
Oh, there you go.
Quill, and you know, so you're gonna have kids running around all over the place there, right? Like the backstage was
I'm
just
sure I'm sure if Carmella decides to come back, if she does, and again, like I know Alexa's another name, which you know a lot of people are starting to.
yeah, like there's gonna be a daycare at a Raw. You know what I mean? You're gonna
Yeah.
it'll be hilarious. So that's
Uh,
cool. I don't
no,
know.
it's again, and
I don't think I was wrong about that. I think
no, I
that's
think
actually
3 years later, I think it's still that same healthy environment. So let's continue the Bret Hart A&E. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't remember it either. So
I
let's,
remember its existence. I don't remember anything specific about
all right.
it.
Well, let's take a listen.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on sauga960am.ca.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat and News Talk Sauga 960 AM. You can always get in touch with the show at ringside_heat on all of our social media. We've got the ring crew, Jose, Colin, Mark, John, and Chico. And guys, we got to talk about this week's Bret Hart A&E biography. And I thought it was a nice contrast between what was offered with the Dynamite Kid Dark Side of the Ring documentary. And it feels like it was a great capper on the career and the life of Bret Hart so far. And, you know, obviously he's had his health problems, but I want to see, just like anybody, I want to see him live many, many years and grow and have the opportunity to grow old with his new wife and with his kids and his grandkids as well. What do you guys think about this A&E biography?
For me, the opening of the biography was the best opening of all these biographies.
Oh my God, yeah.
Seeing that commercial, which one of us, proper Canadian boys, did not want to be that kid in the hall yelling, Bret! Instant chills. It took me right back to, I mean, not that I forgot, but everything that I liked about Bret, just the best opening of all these biographies, either show.
One would say
that was my first initial thought.
There is the best opening there was.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah,
and Chico
definitely.
knows because he's got those Bret
we
Hart
just witnessed
glasses right
the birth
now
of the
on top
Undertaker.
of his forehead.
What's that?
I believe this is the official on-air birth of the Undertaker.
Yeah, it has to be. Yippee-ki-yay.
I had to bust it out for this occasion. We're talking about my favorite pro wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Can you see through those glasses?
No, you cannot.
Okay, I just wanted to. I always wondered. Thank you.
Here to explain, it has little bits of foam around the edges at top and bottom.
Yeah, you have
But
to.
it's the ones that are made in present day have more cushioning. So this one, I'm guessing the foam fell off at some point because it's just remnants of the foam on the edges here. So if you get a pair of Hitman shades, you better take care of them because they're gonna fall apart at some point. Anyway, these are not in good enough shape for current day wearing. It'll just blind you.
How the heck did Bret get to the ring then?
No, well, like I
He's the
said,
best.
the foam
Yeah.
was still attached to the glasses back then.
That's what I'm just realizing, and I guess I never followed up on that. If because Chico was wearing the glasses, we didn't. Again, obviously, for those that don't know, we never recorded our episodes back in the day, not until recently, and Chico had those glasses on, and now that he says that, and Lex again probably was thinking what I was probably thinking 3 years ago. How did Bret walk down to the ring if you can't see through those?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's some debauchery or something. I don't know. I just kind of hearing that I call shenanigans.
Oh, he had a
Yeah.
better pair than the one I had.
Well, that
It's
was
been
about
like
to be my answer there, is that he must have had the ones he gave away must have been better than the ones they were.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
30 years since these glasses came out. So.
Hey, Colin, I remember that commercial that you were talking about. It kind of led to a pay-per-view, and I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. I was trying to beg my mom and dad to order that pay-per-view. Like, nope, you can't do it. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I might as well go into how I feel about the biography. It reminded me a lot about why I love Bret the Hitman Hart as a wrestling fan, as a role model, etc. You know, he's not perfect. He never claimed to be, but he really tried to stick to the honor that he was carrying around as a Canadian and as a pro wrestler who is supposed to be this pillar for the fans. So I'm happy he got his due. You're right. I think it's a great capper for a career that was great, but is often understated because of the dubious moments that happened in it. I loved that the screw job was talked about, but it wasn't something that they kept hammering on or dwelled on for too long, just like the last few years of Bret associated programs. I think that they did a good job of just mentioning it, quickly going around the horn to get perspectives on Montreal, and then finally giving us the happily ever after part, because he is quite a blessed man for all he's gone through. I mean, he and his family have gone through tremendous amounts of tragedies, including the Dynamite Kid thing, because, you know, they're related, right? So that affected them as well. As I found out during Dark Side of the Ring, I didn't know how close the association was. But yeah, going back to the A&E biography, I think Bret, I'm so glad that he also has taken the high road in his dealings with WWE.
That wasn't always the case, and that was the thing that came through. What I liked about this Bret in this documentary is that as we've watched him over the years, his anger, and probably justifiably so, was very, very on display. I'm just happy with how settled he seems, you know, because I really remember watching, even, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, just how angry he seemed. And again, rightfully so. But I was really happy to see a guy who looks like he's good with himself. That's nice, you know, and I don't think that's a spin. That seemed to genuinely be his headspace, that he seems okay. And who wouldn't want that for Bret, you know?
So, like, yeah, I did like the A&E biography. Like, it went through all of his career accomplishments, teaming up with Jim, the Anvil Neidhart, his feud with British Bulldog and SummerSlam, the double turn with Stone Cold, the Montreal Screwjob, and then his feud with Owen Hart. Carrying a legacy like that, that's a lot on his shoulders, but he was able to be the guy, be the man for the WWE back at that time. Bret had all the desire of becoming a WWE wrestler, whether or not he had the belt, whichever way, shape, or form. Like, he was able to make things work during that golden era.
And let me just add to that Bret was an important piece of World Wrestling Federation history, because how he was pushed to the top was because of the big guy stereotype. They couldn't go with that. Vince couldn't go with that because of those steroid trials, right? So Bret was next up in that sense, and he took it on like a champ, like a real champ. Vince, in that sense, owed Bret Hart a whole lot. So I'm happy that that Bret got his due with this thing.
And speaking of champs, one thing that actually really impressed me, and I didn't pick up on this, was Drew McIntyre and modeling his suplex exactly off of Bret Hart's suplex, like step for step, action for action, picture perfect suplex, Bret Hart style. It just blew my mind. Like, you know, yes, I understood that Bret had this influence on the wrestlers of today, but to see it exactly frame for frame was pretty damn cool. I want to actually ask Jose about this over here. You wanted to talk about the contract details that they did get into with the A&E biography.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like with this Bret Hart documentary, first of all, just before I lead up into it, I'm very happy that, like Chico said, that it didn't dwell on the screw job, because anytime you have something to Bret Hart, obviously that's the one thing you go to, right? Who set it up? Who did this? Who did that? Like what happened after the punch? We all know. But I am happy about that they went to smaller details that I felt like we didn't hear enough, which one included the rivalry with Owen. I felt like I didn't hear about that enough because, anytime you hear Bret and Owen, it's either the screw job or, again, tragically, it's Owen's passing. right? The fact that they focused on the rivalry, I thought it was really, really, really big. And then I completely forgot about the contract situation with WCW. I remember hearing that they had like the whole life contract, and then it was ripped up. And then he went to WCW. Okay, can you see if you can get that 2.8 million a year? I think it's great that that was focused on, because again, I think that's crucial to what led up to the events in Montreal at the Survivor Series, right? I mean, yes, everybody knows about the screw job, and everybody knows that Brett didn't want to drop the title because Sean was an arrogant prick. But what led up to those thoughts and to that mindset going into Montreal at Survivor Series in 1997, right? And it all started with the contract situation, which I feel like for some odd reason, and maybe that's just my age showing, it's overlooked. And I'm very happy that they specified on that, aside from just dwelling on the screw job itself. It's like, guys, everything happens for a reason, and it was the contract. So I'm very happy that they dwelled on that. But
well, you know why we haven't heard about it that much is because it wouldn't paint the WWE in a very positive light. And they have control over a large part of what has to do with Brett out there. So I think that's part of why. And not that you asked why, but I mean, I figured that.
No, sure. Like I said, I'm just happy that it did, because it was an ugly situation. And I'm reminded of how ugly the contract situation is. I think that's just a topic of wrestling in general, contracts, especially now in today's day and age with the releases and everything. That's a really good example of like how quickly how south can get if there's no communication, how crazy the politics of wrestling can be.
And if I could just jump in with two more takeaways that I've just kind of thought of right now. In terms of the Montreal Screwjob, it was nice to see them show the reconciliation with Sean and with Vince. Usually you don't see that when that's talked about, the Screwjob. It's just, it was nice to see that part. And I think the final thing, in terms of him now being content to show that his house is now the main house for the family gatherings, I thought that was really great to see how he has kind of taken that on from Stu. I think those two cappers on those two parts of the documentary was really nice to see.
And it's just great to see that Bret Hart has the opportunity to ride off into the sunset like a Calgary Stampede cowboy. But we're going to take a break here, and we're going to be talking about our review of Impact Wrestling Against All Odds. This is going to be quite the heated segment when we return to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM.
Clean segment?
Yeah.
I don't have too much to say there, really. Yeah. No,
I'm not really remembering the documentary. I can't even really comment on.
I'm remembering little by little. I remember the opening to the commercial, and because that's such an iconic commercial. Yeah, bits and pieces, but no, very, very good.
Assuming our take was which I'm sure we all paid attention. That sounds. I'm glad that was how we all felt coming out of that.
Yeah, so they did a good job in like balancing the positives and the negatives, and then kind of like a quote unquote bright future ahead.
Yeah, like Brett's never been, as much as I love Brett, I've said this before a million times on the show, Brett will always be tag team Brett to me, because I skipped his singles run, right? Like I came back in as when he was gone. Or at least when he was on his. Well, actually, I came in when I saw Wrestling with Shadows. That was because that came out.
Is that documentary that was actually behind, like that just happened to catch everything in Survivor Series?
Yeah, because Vince McMahon did a huge interview around that time, around 97, whenever that came out, and he started pulling the curtain back. I remember my interest being tweaked about wrestling again at the fact that they were doing this. They were kind of pulling it back. I'm like, oh, wow, that was a bold move. And then Wrestling with Shadows came out. And yeah, it would have been Wrestling with Shadows. And then Beyond the Mat wasn't much longer after.
Did the cameras like just happen to stumble upon the screw job? Like,
well, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of you look back on that one, it's like when his wife at the time is saying, "You know all about this, didn't you, Hunter?" And it's like, would you have called him Hunter?
Right? Well, that. But I meant like just like the production crew of Wrestling with Shadows. Like, did they? Because to me, it sounds like they just happened to kind of stumble upon.
There happened to be a documentary crew filming one of the most infamous and historical events in wrestling
Exactly,
history.
and
Yes.
they got lucky with like just being because they were doing something else, and all of a sudden they have this on their hands. They're like, wait a minute, something's going on, and then just happened to be
But
at the right
yeah,
place, right time.
again, this is one of those we'll never know, but it's like
It's just weird.
how
Just
much like this historically massively significant thing just happened. The documentary crew just I don't know. There's something
happened to
there that
be
was
there,
yeah,
right?
there's
Yeah,
always something like, yeah, okay,
it's
maybe.
well, it's well, don't challenge Chico on that. I know that's for sure because Chico's like huge. I mean, Chico. I mean, like to me, like Edge to me is what Bret Hart is to Chico. For those that don't know, because Chico is Bret Hart's. Bret Hart is Chico's favorite. There's no way that
Yes.
Chico is Bret Hart's favorite.
Well, unless they met, I'm sure Chico should be Bret Hart's favorite for all the
Let's-
love.
that he's bestowed, and he's got his
Yeah.
glasses. Let's
He's
keep
got
it
his
going.
glasses.
Stream us live at Sauga 960 AM.
Sorry, really quickly. Sorry, before we continue. Lex saying that this is going to become a heated segment. The Impact against all odds. Does anything ring a bell as to why it may be heated? Because I have no idea why Lex would say that.
Certainly not with me. Yeah, I don't know where the heat would have been coming from
So
for that.
this is going to be interesting, apparently.
agreed.
And for what it's worth, I mean, 7 episodes in, we've had arguments on the show. We've had for sure. I know I've got heated a fair amount of times, and I know Colin has as well. We've all had our moments with each other for sure.
We had a rough one a few episodes ago when it felt like we were piling on poor Colin over AW.
That
I had to talk to him about that after.
That I know that I got heated when Edge officially went to AEW, and our group chat went off a little bit, and
I got a little hot on
I got
that
hot,
episode.
yeah.
I remember that.
But I don't there are instances. I know Lex hasn't been confrontational. I've been confrontational. Chico hasn't really been confrontational. You have. And
I just don't remember with who.
yeah, definitely not with me because we're special. We're cool. We clash together well.
We're fine.
But again, I think just like this is like it goes. I mean, if this is heated, it's probably going to be a great example of like, hey, you know what? These conversations get heated, but recording's over. All right, next week, move on. We're all still friends. So I'm curious as to where this is going to go. So here we go.
M.ca.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM. I'm your host, Lex Tan. You can follow me at Lex Tan Media. We've got the ring crew at Coco Collects, Chico Nuguid. We've got at John Dawson Music, John Dawson, at MKD_CE04, Twitch streamer Mark Farinas, also Twitch streamer and graphic designer at Risen72, Colin Dodge, and from Under the Middle Rope podcast at Taboada 93, Jose Taboada, and we've got our review of Impact Wrestling Against All Odds. We did get a chance to watch this last night, and wow, what a show! Early in the monologue, I mentioned that Roman Reigns was talking about SmackDown being a filet mignon and Raw being cheeseburgers, and people who are fast food fans can have their cheeseburgers, but they're cooking steaks over in SmackDown. And somehow I feel that this could be, as much as I hate to say it, I believe this could be applied to WWE being the gourmet filet mignon and Impact Wrestling looking like cheeseburgers based on the pay-per-view last night.
I want to paint a picture here. I got this new Weber kettle that I was setting up, ready to do some grilling in my backyard. I thought, you know what, this is gonna be nice. I'm gonna put it on outside, sit in my back, grill some ribs, enjoy a beverage while I watch Impact. That was not what happened. What happened was it felt like an eternal moment where it just never. It's like I was waiting for something to happen that would engage me. My kids came down, said, "Oh, you're watching wrestling." They watched for about a second and went up to weed the garden with my wife. That was the preferred.
The other reason why that's funny to hear is because I saw John earlier today in the morning. I went to go visit John and his family just to say hey to them, and they were talking about weeding the garden as well.
Yeah.
Some things
Well,
never change with the Dawsons.
Garden's gotta get weeded, brother. But yeah.
Activity while we're
Oh my
watching Impact. So I
So
don't
if
want
kids.
listen, I don't want to disrespect the hardworking talent in that company and all that. That should be, goes without saying. It did nothing. I just fell flat. I felt nothing for these stories. The matches were kind of okay, but not great. And I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
I'm going
I
to
have
jump
to-
in because I actually have a couple of highlights. Okay. I went back and kind of like watched a little bit, and I'll just draw maybe 2 or 3 highlights from my perspective. Speaking of the hardworking talent of Impact Wrestling, I thought Ace Austin offered us some pretty good innovative offense. I put note to self: slingshot double guillotine leg drop. What?
Right.
That's
So
what that
that
meant.
was a
Okay.
very interesting move to me. Of course, it ended in a schmoz, so that was all for naught, I suppose. Let's see, what else was a highlight? Jordan Grace, I think, had a really good showing in her match. And lastly, to me, for Impact Wrestling as a company, I think they could possibly benefit from their main event having been held at Daly's Place as opposed to the studio in Nashville with, Mr. and Mrs. Nobody out in the stands. Other than that, I got to go with John here. Didn't do too much for me. But there were a few little bright spots, like I said, because they do have good talent. But in a setting like that, I think, to look at the bright side, at least they have a place to practice.
Wow. Yeah, I got to agree with John. I had a beer on one hand and I had 2 screens on the other. I was actually watching Impact and I was watching a basketball game. I had to mute against all odds for the past 45 minutes because I wasn't getting into it until the Kenny Omega and Moose thing. There were some highlights. Petey Williams, Canadian Destroyer. He does a Canadian Destroyer at the top rope. That's right. He does a Canadian Destroyer at the top rope. He never missed a beat. Going back to that main event at the Daly's Place, I mean, like, you got 20 to 30 wrestlers around the ring, and I was waiting for the run-in. I know there was going to be a run-in, and it had to be Matt and Nick Jackson. I'm like, okay, anybody else coming in? Anybody? Oh, well, that's how it's going to be it. And then, of course, Sami Callihan coming in, and they just cut the show. Impact, gotta get it together, man.
But here's the thing with Sami Callihan, I believe that Jose has really got something to say about this, but I will get to that in a second. To go back to the fatal 5-way match for the Impact X Division Championship #1 contendership, that's the one match I believe that had the most promise out of it, but it fell flat because of the schmoz. Colin, what did you have to say about that?
The X Division was why I originally, way back when, watched Impact. At the height of it, that was the exciting new thing that Impact was bringing to me, aside from all the regular things I would usually watch. So I'm looking at the whole card. I mean, yeah, a Kenny Omega match is always great, except I don't know anything about the other guy. So the Kenny Omega match was only going to do so much for me. So I was excited. I'm like, okay, X Division is still around. The match started great. Everybody was interested. Everybody was energized, including the referee, which can't be said for all of the referees in the pay-per-view. And it was great until a finish. You have a no contest finish on a pay-per-view. I don't care what promotion you are. I can't stand that. I hate it when WWE does it. I don't like it anywhere. And to me, that ruined what should have been the highlight of the whole night.
And going back as well, Jose, we were talking as well about Sami Callihan earlier, and you had something about the non-believability of what happened in the main event last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's already somewhat frustrating that that the pay-per-views are taped. Again, WWE was guilty of it for a little while. It happens. There's nothing much you can do. And I was just, first of all, surprised that I don't know why the main event had to be at Daly's Place. I don't know if it was like some storyline thing about, like, just the champ just getting home field advantage. I have no idea. For Sami Callihan to appear suddenly after he was just a few hours away from Nashville, it doesn't take that long. I know I know he opened the show, so it may have been probably plausible. It kind of reminded me back to, again, what I said earlier with Tommy End and Renee, as when we spoke about the session, how Undertaker gave the advice to Tommy, Mark Calloway, telling him that, like, everybody knows, everybody's on social media. You got to learn to work with it. You got to learn to make it believable. I won't believe anybody but the Undertaker transporting to another city or another area in an instant. In fact, I still think it's the Undertaker is the only person today where all of a sudden he can teleport from one place to another. Like it's or the Fiend. Yes, okay. I'll give the Fiend credit there as he was booked that way. But even then, I don't think the Fiend will ever be as strong as the Undertaker. So when Sami Callihan does it, this guy who is just this everyday guy, like when you compare him to a supernatural character like the Undertaker, suddenly appears to me. I'm going, what? And it just fell flat. I mean, yeah, like the run-ins are the run-ins, and now Sami Callihan is kayfabe fired. I'm just confused. I just didn't buy it. And of course, I mean, yeah, the Young Bucks running in was also frustrating, but again, it's just a typical heel thing. But Sami Callihan to teleport from Nashville to Jacksonville will make no sense to me. And I think that's just kind of, I mean, I've seen worse pay-per-views in wrestling, but I really thought that soured a lot in terms of like just the whole night itself. But
for context, because I thought I would have brought it up in that rant and I didn't. It takes it's an 8-hour drive from Nashville to Jacksonville, or an hour and a half from Nashville to Jacksonville on a plane.
Okay, so it's not possible.
It's no. So my point stands. Anyways, back to the show.
But wait a minute.
Information,
Wait a
actually,
minute.
I
Now I'm
just
confused. I don't remember what the heck happened.
So if my memory serves me right, it was Moose and Kenny Omega in the main event, but it was taped at Daly's place.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because Kenny was the Impact, AEW, and another championship because he was he was Thanos basically.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think Sami Callihan opened the show, and then or probably must have been early, and then all of a sudden made it to Jacksonville to interfere in the match.
Yeah.
Something along those.
That stretches credibility. Yes.
Yeah. Impact against all. No, I'm gonna look this up while we keep listening to the show.
Sure.
But it's I can see why I'm upset. To be honest with you, there's 2021. Okay, I have it all here. So it was held in Nashville, and then the main event was held in Daly's place in Jacksonville. Sami Callihan was in the opener. Yeah, was the opening match in a street fight, and then somehow made it to Jacksonville for the main event. That was taped.
Why didn't they just say it was taped?
I don't know.
Because then it wouldn't matter. It's like, okay, I don't know.
I mean, it's the COVID era, right? I mean, we're still in this era, right? So I guess they thought that maybe they could
not that
allow
controversial. Oh, whatever.
Right,
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled on this, but
I do remember being really upset by this, and I remember because I was actually looking for. I remember that night. I was like, I had it outside. It was a beautiful summer night.
Still on the grill.
And I was just, still, I was really enjoying myself. And then I'm like, what is this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just ruined my night.
Wow. That's
I don't remember why specifically, but I remember my night being ruined. And then
you know what else disappoints me, John? I never went to your place for a nice barbecue in your backyard after all these years.
Well, I'm sure we can fix. Aren't we coming over here for something in June?
Yes, but I'm just saying that I just realized that you spoke about this grill throughout the years of Ringside Heat, and I was never invited for a rib or for a hot dog.
I'm sure we can fix that.
I hope so with our vodka filled swimming pool that you have.
Oh, yeah, we haven't had that conversation yet. Yeah.
No, it was off camera, I think.
Oh, was it? Oh,
why
that makes sense. Yeah,
why would we bring up filling up a pool at your place with vodka on a radio show? This is YouTube. This is again, we pulled back the curtain, but think about that. Imagine like being on the air. Hey, we're gonna go to your place to fill your pool with vodka.
It was. Yeah, it was an offhanded comment, and then I was actually trying to figure out how many liters that was like, like a 70,000 liter pool. I'm like, how much vodka that would have been?
It's for
like 7,000 bottles of vodka or something.
For context, at this time, we're still getting to know each other, and John wanted us over one day to have a barbecue. John has a pool in his house. I've seen it; it's great. I've never swam in it, but then again, the opportunities weren't really there. But for some odd reason, Mark said, "No, we should fill up the pool with vodka," and then that's how that conversation. It's hilarious. It's
It was a very strange conversation
it
because
very much was.
like we all know, swimming in vodka would be horrible. There's no upside to that. Like
For God knows many reasons. Anyways, yeah. So that's a content conversation, but yeah, that's moral of the story. I would like to. I would
I
like
feel
a
like I
hot,
want to puke right now imagining all that. But I hate
moral of the
vodka.
story is one day I would like to have a hot dog at your place with your
Sure,
barbecue.
Jose, we can do
Looked it
that.
up here, and from Nashville, Tennessee to Jacksonville, Florida, just the flight itself is an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh,
Now,
there you
take
go.
into account that there is, going through the gates at the airport, or even at a
Sorry, folks. We just killed 3 minutes, 4 minutes of your time with us talking. Then Lex
For
immediately
nothing.
answers it.
Yeah.
at a small local airport, you still have to go through certain things, and then flying from there, an hour and 10 minutes over to Jacksonville, having to land and having to check in at the local airport, whatever like that.
So you're the pilot, and this guy gets in. I need to get here. I got to get to Daly's place. Well, why? I'm gonna ruin the show tonight.
I think Don Counts is a
Like
registered.
somebody somewhere
pilot.
should have put a stop to that flight. Like, you know what, man? We're gonna sleep on this. Like, don't go ruin the show.
I like it when I pop myself. That's funny. I'm gonna go ruin the show.
You're so mad.
It's really bothered me, man. I'm like, yeah. Maybe let's sleep on this. That's funny.
Oh my lord, that's hilarious.
It's the professional thing to do.
I think I've heard this before. But
Calla-
Don Callis actually, because he works with Kenny, he actually has a license. He has a license in becoming a pilot. Probably said it there.
Maybe it could have been something private, but regardless, it just did not feel believable. If that's how long it takes to get to Jacksonville, okay, fine. Maybe I can stand corrected because Sami Callihan appeared at 8:00 and that main event happened at 10:30. But still, it just didn't make it. Just in terms of getting there, just you should have just had the main event in Nashville. I don't get why you needed to go to Daly's place.
Mhm.
Or they could have even had the entire show at Daly's place. That
Sure,
up
even
the
better.
ante a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, but you have Impact wrestlers surrounding the ring.
Yeah, why not? It's I mean, like Daily Place is already a reputable place, and they've already had crowds there. If you want to bring
That
some,
would have been so nice.
if you want to bring a bit more attention,
talent to surround the AEW ring.
probably not. But if you wanted to bring a little bit more attention to Impact, yeah, sure. You're working together. Why don't you just use the whole damn place? I know Slammiversary next month will have fans, but hey, why not promote it a little bit sooner than that?
I don't know. Our main talking point is how the flight plan worked out. So to me, the pay-per-view missed its mark.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
And you know what? Even though we did kind of find that show a little bit falling flat in its face, we'll hope a little bit for tonight on WWE NXT TakeOver in your house. And we're going to be talking about that and teeing that up when we return to Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on
Gonna
saga960am.ca.
go ruin the show.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM. This is the final segment here with the Ring Crew. Before we get into the actual pay-per-view, NXT TakeOver in your house, and the 5 matches that we have on the card so far, we're going to list them right now. Karrion Kross, the champion, with Scarlett versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano with Austin Theory versus Pete Dunne with Oni Lorcan, a fatal 5-way, another fatal 5-way for the NXT Championship. Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight, a ladder match for the vacant $1 million championship. Mercedes Martinez with Xia Li with Boa and Mei Ying in a singles match. Raquel Gonzalez with Dakota Kai. Ember versus
Hold
Ember
up.
Moon with Shotzi Blackheart for the
Listen to that roster.
I know.
That's wild.
I know.
I mean, this there's some sad Cameron Grimes. That's sad, but wow, like LA Knight just kind of slipping in there It's like
This
Anyway.
was NXT Takeover in Your House 2021, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta see this for myself. In Your House NXT.
Johnny Gargano with Austin Theory. Like that is once again a testimony to NXT because nearly every name you just said that's still in the company.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, absolutely. For the most part,
Like
yeah.
that are still there, right? Like obviously some have moved on and blah blah blah, but
NXT Women's Championship, and Bronson Reed and MSK versus Legado del Fantasma. The winner takes all 6-man tag team match for the NXT North American Championship and the NXT Tag Team Championship. The stakes are so high in this pay-per-view tonight, and this is something that I'm looking forward to I guess maybe to get a little bit of the taste of last night's Impact pay-per-view out of my mouth. Don't get me wrong, I want to see them succeed, but last night was definitely not where we could see them succeed. Tonight, though, could be a lot better than last night.
There was an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where they made a tofu turkey for Thanksgiving, and the family had to suffer through. Marie was trying to be healthy, and it was horrible. And then towards the end of the episode, somebody shows up, and Ray had ordered like an old classic turkey dinner with all the fixins. And it showed up right the last minute. I feel like NXT is that turkey dinner after the tofu turkey of Impact last night.
Triple H is going to shove it.
I'm looking at this card, and I'm just looking front to back, and like this is a glass of cold water after you've been out in the humidity for 3 hours, resealing a driveway. The Fatal 5-Way has my attention right away. It's going to be great. I love the winner take all concept of the 6-man tag. I mean, yeah, I think there's no way this isn't going to be good, in my opinion.
Jose,
I'm actually really looking forward to the $1 Million Championship return. With the Cameron Grimes and LA Knight and Ted DiBiase just lurking around. Nice little throwback to the $1 Million Man back in the 90s. I actually like the look of the title. I'm surprised it's not used as often or hasn't been used that strongly in history. But then again, I wasn't around in the 90s, so I don't know how big of an impact it played back then. So I'm happy that NXT's kind of bringing this along. I know they have a fair amount of titles down in NXT, but this is a good addition, and especially with Cameron Grimes and his whole little mini rivalry with Ted DiBiase, I think this could bring a lot of laughs. So I'm looking forward to see what happens, but I'm kind of expecting Cameron to lose just to see the reaction of him not being able to grab the $1 Million Championship, which again could set up some fun stuff.
I wasn't too much into NXT, or either he wasn't a big star if I didn't say LA Knight. Yeah. So,
well, yeah, none of us were.
No, not really. No,
it
nobody.
just wasn't on. Yeah, was he? I mean, he must have been doing it.
But of course, must have by then. Yeah, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a 5-way that I deserve, so I'm happy about that after last night. So that's right away. Yeah, and I know all of these people in that match, which is even better. So it's great. I've always been a fan of Ember Moon, so I'm excited. I think she's back in NXT. I think where she's most comfortable. Again, another call up that didn't quite work out for whatever reason. I don't know. I wasn't there in the meetings, but so I'm excited for that match. The winner take all. I'm worried it could very well be too much going on, but I mean, I definitely have faith in NXT that they're going to pull it off. Ladder match for the $1 Million title. The whole card. I'm excited for the whole card. So, but especially that 5-way.
So yesterday they had this press conference for In Your House, this global press conference, and you had all these wrestlers lined up on the table going through, and of course Triple H in the middle and William Regal in the middle, going through it all and like answering all these questions. It felt like, okay, stuff is about to hit the fan on the next day. It's like getting everybody hyped up, and probably like William Regal's going to probably give it to Scott D'Amore tonight for In Your House, to saying this is how it's supposed to be done. This is how a pay-per-view is gonna happen.
Chico.
And you know what? I think NXT is going to prove again tonight why they are the best brand in professional wrestling today. That is my opinion, of course. I agree with everyone else pretty much. Top to bottom is going to be a strong card. I mean, I'm a big fan of Thick Boy, because I think Bronson Reed's been doing some real good things. So I'm looking forward to him and whatever he does. I mean, they call him Thick Boy. That's why I'm saying Thick Boy. It's not derogatory. They call him Thick Boy. It's on a shirt. And I also am looking forward to the $1 million championship ladder match. I think the entertainment value in that one is going to take us to the moon. Going to be a good night, guys, I think.
Well, and just that, Chico, the thing I love about that, again, thinking about NXT and its legacy, you've got a ladder match, and most likely, I don't know for sure, but I would think Shawn Michaels would have had some involvement in guiding that.
Yeah,
I think about
easily
a ladder match, and you got Shawn Michaels
at Takeover before WrestleMania. He was directly behind the scenes with that.
Like, talk about going to the source for your events, and I think that just tells me already that this is at another level.
I'm pretty sure in the Shawn Michaels A&E biography, you had Shawn breaking down and going through like a ladder match, an old one from a past NXT. So if he's not, I'd be shocked. But hell yeah, I would want the Heartbreak Kid to guide me in a ladder match or to break it down if I was involved in one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn is exactly why I think he's one of the biggest reasons why NXT is succeeding, because as a personality, as a worker, as a talker, he's probably one of, if not the best worker WWE has ever produced, or has gone through their system. He's just a great hand to guide things.
I just have to say, Jose, when you said that Shawn Michaels was breaking down a ladder match, yes, that is very, very appropriate for Shawn Michaels.
Wow. Did not even notice that myself. Well done. Well done.
But one thing as well, I will also say is that, I love all these matches so far on the card. And again, it's one of those things that was said earlier that I know each and every one of these people. I'm always looking forward to seeing Shotzi Blackheart and what she does, even if she's not actually scheduled to wrestle tonight. I'm immediately paying attention to, and it's because she has this just over the top personality, and I can't stop watching what the heck she's going to do next. It helps that I've got a thing for green hair, but it's but that only applies in this situation.
You know what? I'll add one more thing. It's partly related to Shotzi Blackheart, but she's so metal, and I think that hard rock and metal are parts of pro wrestling that are underplayed on the main roster of WWE now. And I think it was such a big part of the success of their product in the Attitude Era. There's just something about driving rock that adds to a show that has to do with pro wrestling kind of shows. Just the music is such a big part of it for me. And I think NXT still holds that butt kicking kind of musical drive.
And as Scott Stanford used to say on his WWE News Slams,
our buddy and our pal?
Oh, yes, our buddy and our pal. You're going to be able to see all of that great action on the WWE Network right here in Canada and on Peacock in the United States. And that's going to be starting up at 8 o'clock. And we'll be able to see if WWE really does live up to the filet mignon that Roman Reigns has said that SmackDown is. But, I guess that WWE is at the moment, being that they are the biggest name in all of the professional wrestling promotions.
And
all
where are
across
we going to enjoy this pay-per-view, filet mignon? We're going to enjoy it in
I love it.
House.
And that's where we're going to leave it off right there. Going to thank the ring crew, Jose, Colin, Mark, John, and Chico for being on the show here today and spending Sunday with me.
Money, 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 money to the moon.
And thank you for listening to this special Sunday night edition of Ringside Heat. Hope you enjoyed the show and hope you're going to be enjoying NXT TakeOver in your house. My name is Lex Tan. Again, get in touch with the show and interact with us at Ringside_Heat on all of our social media and myself at Lex Tan Media. Take care and have a great week. We'll talk to you again on Saturday. Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 968.
I cringe.
Yeah.
To the moon. I cringe. Yeah, I don't think we ever needed to hear about what Lex thinks about green hair. That was a given.
It's funny.
And I don't think and it's funny, like I was thinking to myself, oh, did I really say Shawn Michaels break it down? And I was thinking to myself that right now, so I'm surprised that I didn't pick that up when I said
Yeah,
it.
we all missed that one.
Yeah, I missed it completely. Hilarious episode, definitely
Yeah, that was
the
funny.
funniest so far. It's 7 down. But yeah, it's good progression so far. So next, so let's whoa, my tongue got twisted there. This Thursday, episode 8, there's a new sheriff in town. The Ringside Heat ring crew discusses Samoa Joe's return to WWE, the fandom and social media, and the recent WWE pay-per-view, NXT Takeover in Your House, and Hell in a Cell. So it's a double pay-per-view review. So that'll be interesting.
Why?
A scheduling, probably. WWE's with scheduling. I mean, we have Money in the Bank and Heat Wave this and back to back.
So we're in June right now. Is this July? Is this the Russo interview?
No, I mean no, not that.
It's next year, right?
I'm just seeing here. Oh well, episode 11. Lex says that Lex is announcing a big special guest.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we did it in our first year.
I think so too. Episode 12, the Vince Russo interview part 1, and then episode 13, the Vince Russo episode interview part 2. So
I haven't listened to that interview since it aired. I'll be very curious.
I'm on that boat as well, so it'll be very interesting. So that's gonna happen in a couple of weeks. But for now, we're going to sign off here and bid you a farewell. So thank you so much for listening. As always, follow us on all our social medias at ringside_heat, where I try to take over the social media and to show who's boss. For John Dawson, you can find him on social media at John Dawson Music. I am Jose Taboada. You can find me at Taboada 93. We will see you Thursday night. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Bye.